Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, this is Nansu.
Hi, Nancy. Hey.
Hello?
Up to like 60-something%.
Yeah.
And hopefully some point further, but like now it's like 90%.
That's what the institution wants. That's what the institution wants.
Well, but
Yeah.
it doesn't want it enough to pay me past
No.
75%. So there's like, I mean, I think if you're at like 70-something%, maybe 80%, then like that's the most.
That's
They
the
actually-
most that
Hello.
Right.
most the institution.
Hello, good evening.
They can adjust
Hi,
their plans.
Felipe. Hi, Alejandro.
I want to be able to pay my postdoc on the grant and not own, not with my discretionary funds.
Your incentive is not their incentive is not.
I don't mind that, Ryan's fine with it. He just wants to make sure we spend the money. So I think the idea.
We'll just wait for a couple of minutes.
Hi, Anu, this is Ron.
Hi, Ron. Yeah, it's recording. I guess we can get started. So far, still traveling. In the room here, I have Kirk, Trevor, Firat, Nina, Riling, Shaoling. And on the call, I have Elizabeth, Jeff and Yuling, Nansu, Ron, Stephen, Tim, and Philippe and Alejandra. Have I missed anybody? So if not, so we'll get started. When I sent out the agenda, actually, I had just Datamed version 2 release discussion. But after that, I thought of a couple of things, and I think Riling and Alejandra want to discuss a little bit about the schema.org annotations. So I added those in the agenda since we did not have much to talk about otherwise.
Hi.
Hi, is that Claudio?
Yes, you have your 32 gigs running.
Okay, thank you.
And
We will officially go live, I think maybe around 4 o'clock today, Central Time.
okay, then we have time to fix a small bug maybe. If you click on the timeline on those bars, you get a page not found.
Oh, okay. This is on the timeline that comes up when you do a search, right?
Yes, on the right side, you have a timeline with those teal kind of color bars. There is a year for each of them, and if you click on them, you get a page not found.
You're getting a page not found.
Okay, let me check.
Okay. Yeah,
That's
so
right.
we'll check that. Thanks, Claudia. So we're still working on generation of the help and the FAQ page. We are reviewing it and hopefully should be done soon. Also, Xiaoling has finished the NLP pipeline updates and we sent it over to Jeff's team end of last week. I think Jeff and Burak are going to be updating their pipeline with the new NLP code, and then we will have a complete reindexing that we plan to do.
First, I'm going to run some of our tests on some individual sources, and then we'll go to the full, yeah.
And then if there are any issues, I guess when you run the test, we should get some response from you, feedback from you, right?
Yeah.
So how long do you think that'll take, Jeff? Approximately in another month or so, we should have everything.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that sometime, late March we could potentially start the full run through. The testing well, and there's nothing major that comes up.
Okay.
So, Jeff, that would then come under the guise of, let's say, a version 2.1 or something, just a back-end update.
It would be an update to the back end, but it wouldn't. The UI wouldn't be using those pieces yet. I don't think until.
I see.
So yeah. I don't know how we want to handle. I don't know if updates to data, require a version change, or if that's just outwardly facing, like results change or UI changes. We can discuss that. If we think at that time, if we think it warrants a change in the release number or not.
So my impression was that we would have changes in release numbers only if we had like new repositories and new functionalities added, right?
Yeah, I thought it was functionality. I'm not clear if just adding new repositories would warrant it either, but I mean, again, that's
okay. So whenever we add new repositories, the UI is going to get updated, right, Jeff?
Well, the more data sources would show up, but there's no changes to the UI, right?
I mean, in the sense that some text of the UI will get updated.
Yeah. So, yeah. We can do either. I'm not, I don't have strong feelings either way.
Okay, but I guess we can talk about this, as you say, when we've run the NLP pipeline with all the repositories and we are ready to push it to the production side. Also, we were planning to have a data type ontology discussion meeting. Once version 2 is out, then we will have that. I think Xiaoling would like to be involved, as well as Jeff and his team, and probably, of course, Alejandra and Philippe. And anybody else who wants to join in on the call is welcome to do it, but I probably will have these folks being the major players there. And then just a reminder that we will have the common data elements discussion meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. This is 2 p.m. CST. George is going to be talking about how to integrate the common data elements and add common data elements into DataMed, or we just talk about the plans and the way we could go around with integrating the CDEs. And this would be, at this point of time, the plan is to actually do it only for 2 repositories. I think one would be ICPSR, and I forget which was the other one, maybe dbGaP or Geo, I'm not sure. So with DataMed version 2 release, I think we are good to go. I have an outline of the release email if people are interested in seeing it. All right. So if I can send this around, and if anybody wants to quickly provide some feedback as to if they have strong feelings on any of the things that needs to be included or maybe excluded from the email, please let me know. So basically all we are saying is that we are giving a link to a spreadsheet which actually has the new features and the bug fixes that's linked to the GitHub issues. And we also have the new repositories in one spreadsheet for which we are providing links. And this time, feature-wise, we don't have a lot, I think. So, it's not like we have a very extensive list for them to go through. And then we're also asking for feedback from the users, and asking users to get involved in BioCadia and DataMed.
Hi, Anu.
Yeah.
This is Alejandra. Hello. A very minor comment, but I think it's useful when you have these long links from Google Docs that you create a tiny URL. I mean, that makes it easier. I mean, people if these people receive this in an email, it's not a problem. But if it is distributed in other ways, those long URLs are not useful.
Right. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. I don't know how to do it, but I'll bug Reeling and Shaoling and get their help to do it. Thanks. Does anybody else have any feedback? Also, I will send this out, the announcement, to everybody on the team. So if you are part of any mailing list, please announce it in the mailing list so that we get the word around as wide as possible. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the EMEA submission. So I talked to Bob briefly, and we thought about doing a poster submission for EMEA for DataMed, and I know that Ram and Todd are actually working on an EMEA submission for the user needs analysis as well as the early user testing that was done. I believe it's going to be either a podium I think it was, they were planning for that to be a podium presentation, but not a paper.
Yeah,
is anybody...
I'm at the podium right now.
So is that you, Todd?
Yes, I just said we're planning for a podium presentation.
Right. So is anybody else planning to present anything that's DataMed or BioCadia related at EMEA? The deadline is March 9th, by the way. So there's still time to submit something, is what I want to say.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jeff and Puneet, are you planning to present anything that's DataMed related or BioCADI related?
Not yet. The dataset ingestion part is kind of hard.
Yeah, to write as a poster. I guess.
Yeah, it's just something that's report worthy. But we will try. But at this point, no, we don't have anything yet.
Yeah, no, I mean, we normally don't go to, I normally don't go to AMIA because it's usually conflicts with some other meetings I have, but when are
So March 9th is the deadline, and if you want, like we did last time, I can always put up print the poster and put it up for you.
Okay, so this is in DC this year.
I don't know, where is it in? It's in DC?
Yeah, November 4th through 8th.
Okay. So just let me know if you'd like to submit something, and we can do that.
Yep.
So since Ruling and Alejandra want to talk about the schema.org annotations, I think I'll let Ruling talk about it. Share all at this time.
Can you see this is the GitHub repository? So I read all the information sent by Alejandra, and this is a JSON linked data file for a PDB dataset, and I have a few questions for Alejandra. So in this document there are two keywords. One is context, and the other is type. So, but not every type has a context. So are you going to create context for every type?
So the contexts are associated with each of the schemas. So I'm not sure which one you are referring to. We can have a look at the one that you said there is no type to see what's
like
going on there.
Data repository. So it has a data repository type, but there's no context for this one.
Okay, it might be that the context is defined in one of the files. I can double check. And we can also have a specific call to discuss about this if you like. One thing that I found out that Google actually, for example, doesn't support these external contexts because I was trying myself. And so although in the JSON-LD specification this is absolutely valid, the Google tool for structured data doesn't support this context to be in a separate file as we are doing here. So actually we will need to include the context in the file itself, which is simply a replace. So instead of this line for the context, you will have to include the whole context for the file. I hope that's clear. And so basically, I can also work on an example where this is expanded so that and we test it for Google. But I've been testing this for other data sets, and that's the case. You cannot have an external context file as in this example.
Okay. So for the integration of this schema.org annotations, So how about we start with PDB and then we can move to other repositories? Do you have any suggestions? So I found
well, it should be. I mean, we should be building it, you know, in the sense of if we've done PDB.
Something generic, right?
Yeah. If we do PDB, then 80% of what we have should work, right? Because a lot of the repositories with slimmer metadata, you know, would be encapsulated by what is happening for PDB already.
So this needs to be built individually for each repository?
No.
we can create a generic one.
Yeah, it's generic because it's the same data model on the back end.
Okay.
So this is Ian. I'm confused about. Well, I don't think I'm confused about what we're doing here. I'm wondering why we're doing it. Sounds like what we're doing here is we're putting schema.org annotations on what BioCaddy exposes to the world about what BioCaddy has indexed.
Correct.
Whereas the point of schema.org is about repositories or other sources of data marking their data up with schema.org so it can be indexed.
Partially correct. But they also want aggregators to do that for resources that don't.
I understand that, but the point from our point of view is reducing the amount of work. This is the point is it would make BioCaddy's task easier. But this
correct.
is adding
But
what
we also
BioCaddy
need,
has to do.
We're also, I mean, there are two sides, right? Because we're also trying to work with, with Google, and schema.org, and so we actually need to have some data that they can work with, right? And so, in a sense, we're bootstrapping that by providing, a conversion on top of our data model, which we can do, and, we're working on the mapping with them, so that gives us some data to work with as we develop, these extensions and all that with schema.org. But then that also gives us something to show repositories to say that, hey, listen, Google is indexing this stuff. This is what it looks like. So why don't you adopt this?
And I guess
indeed. I mean, we've discussed.
Go ahead, Anna.
Sorry, I wanted to add to that. So we've discussed about the usefulness about these annotations. Well, as Jeff was saying, is first of all surfacing the information of each data set in DATS, because this is not other thing that the DATS representation in JSON LD, where the annotations in this case are schema.org, and the advantage of that is that indeed, well, not just Google, but all the search engines that are collaborating in schema.org will be able to find this data set. So that means that they will be able to find data met. So someone looking in Google and finding a data set will be directly to DataMet. So again, it's also about the visibility of DataMet. And we know that other repositories, even aggregators, are already doing this. So I think this is important. And it's also important for the Working Group 12 workshop we will hold in May, because in this way, people will be able to see through DataMet the representation of the data sets in that, which at the moment it's within the system in a slightly different format. So I think also making available a DATS representation through DataMet is really valuable, which in turn it will have the schema.org annotation.
Well, I mean, one of the outputs from the discussion we had with Google last year, and there'll be an opportunity to pick up part of this discussion next week, was that Google are not going to provide the application functionality that a biomedical researcher would want. that's something that our domain will have to do. So the value of making the data indexable by Google is, from what they're saying, is of less value than the question of adding the biomedical functionality that biomedical researchers need, and BioCaddy focusing on adding that capability.
Correct, but the issue is that, as Alejandro says, where does everyone go first? Everyone goes to Google first, so we need to put our feet into Google so that we get, that link back traffic. Just like when you do a movie, you search for a movie and you end up with, the thing off to the right that says, more information at Fandango or IMDb. We want DataMed to be one of those for data sets because, Google has some information on movies and, sometimes locations near you, but if you want all the features that, IMDb has, on cross-referencing author or the actors and whatever else, then you have to go to IMDb, right? So it's a similar scenario where we need to put ourselves in Google as well and then have that link back. And that's, I think, what Alejandro was bringing up as well.
Yeah, okay. So there is one. I think we've articulated the pros and cons of different sides of the argument here, and I think it's a question that we'll have to keep some discussion going on.
Yeah, so that would like to add. So
what is the disadvantage?
So Ian, just to give some context to why we started looking into this, I remember some time ago in one of either the BD2K or the BioCaddy all hands meeting, Dave was looking for DataMed and searching for it on Google, and obviously DataMed didn't show up in any of the first couple of pages. And so when he asked why, and then we talked about later, Ruling went in to look into the different steps you would need to take to ensure that if a user gets into Google and searches for it, that DataMed and datasets that are indexed in DataMed do show up on a search, such as something that would be done on Google. And I think one of the steps was schema.org markup.
Adding structured data.
May I add something else?
Yeah.
Because I think that, yeah.
First, sorry. I wanted to make a comment as well. I've been cut 3 times already, so but it's just one thing. I think that there is another very pragmatic reason why we do this as well. I mean, Alejandro posted recently the blog post by Natasha Noy who highlighted the work by OmixDI, who were bragging about the indexation through Google as well. And we did this first for DataMed, and I think that's a missed opportunity for the visibility of the project again. So really, it doesn't cost much. It's already done, and we have very low-hanging fruit, which is really hitting on target, which will expand the visibility of DataMed. And also we highlight the gaps in schema.org, and this is where I think we can bring up the contribution that BD2K, BioCaddy, and DataMed team has done via the BioSchema project here led by Elixir, where we start contributing data sets and the descriptor for schema.org, and to show that we need to expand the coverage, and also to have the project, schema.org project, to clarify how it intends to integrate or relate to biontology and indexing efforts.
Yeah, I agree with Philippe there. This is all, as I see it, part of increasing the interoperability of indexing systems, including DataMed. There is this large effort ongoing on bioschema.org that is making schema.org more relevant as an extension to the biomedical field. And I think that if DataMed also contributes or adopts, then it makes it easier to find more broadly rather than specifically through datamed.org. And it reveals the effort that has been done in indexing by BioCaddy.
So we're conflating some things. There are some great things in those arguments that yes, undoubtedly we should be doing. But the point I'm raising is the value in that of the particular piece where we layer on top of what others have done, the schema.org annotation, rather than working with them and working with the repositories on annotation and source. Because I think one of the things that NIH wants to learn is where these efforts should be in an indexing ecosystem. Where should these efforts be being done? And I think, yes, there's a value in understanding the representation of that in schema.org. And having, yes, identifying some data that's indexed in that way is useful. But the real thing that we would want to get some feedback on is the implementation of schema.org by the repositories, and there should be some focus and some activity on that. And if this is at the expense of that, then we're not hitting what one of the important aspects to cover is.
So, but I think that actually having this in DataMed, it will help in because, for example, in getting the repositories to annotate, to generate that with annotations with the schema.org, because actually if we can show them in the workshop in May for each data set in DataMed that they are able to see this representation, it will provide us with lots and lots of examples on how they can convert their own data. So I think that actually this also leads into helping the repositories in providing this representation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, the pros and cons have been aired.
Can you clarify what is the disadvantage? Because it's not clear to me. What do you see as a disadvantage of using this annotation?
The disadvantage is not focusing on the question of distributed structured metadata, which is the point of schema.org. When we talk with Guha about structured data, the issue is not in the schema itself. The success of schema.org and why he has pointed to schema.org as being successful is because of its usage throughout the community and its support in content management systems. This is not an argument about schema A versus schema B. It's more to do with the uptake and the sociological issues to do with the adoption within the community, and not less about the technical aspect of the schema.
Yes, but then if we make use of that uptake, we only benefit. There's nothing that goes against that, I think. I mean, and as Philippe mentioned in the blog by Natasha, they are already linking to repositories that have the annotations, and we are not listed. I actually asked Natasha, and they wanted to give examples to people of repositories that are providing the annotation. So if we want to be listed within the first adopters, because they are going to have some more work on the data set side, at least, again, I agree with you that it's not Google's job to provide the more detailed searches required in the biomedical domain, but at least it's a way for DataMed to be found through Google, and then people can do the more interesting queries in DataMed.
Okay, we should move on.
Okay. So do you, Alejandra, Philippe, do you guys want us to schedule another call or?
Yeah, so if we need to discuss the details about this, we are happy to arrange a call to move it forward.
Okay.
Yes, and also we will have a meeting next week on bioschema precisely. So I think that would be also an interesting report that we could make to the group.
So I think we'll learn some interesting things next week out of that, I hope. And Google are going to be at that meeting, right, Philippe?
I think Dan will be attending. I'm not sure. Alejandra, do you remember?
Yes, because he's in the agenda.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Could you send that link to Anu for inclusion in the minutes for today?
Sure, yeah.
Oh, for the bioschema meeting?
Yes.
Okay. So you would like to have the meeting before you go for the bioschema meeting or after you come back from that?
Possibly after.
That's a good question.
I'd say after the meeting, because this week looks already quite busy, and we would probably make the most of the discussions and bringing this back into the DataMed project.
Okay, sounds good then.
Thank you. Cheers.
So to update, we actually have 246 issues right now, of which 116 are open in GitHub, and I believe that we will have probably a round of discussion of all the issues within the team here probably this Thursday, and you will see some more assignments in terms of who's going to be addressing issues, etc. So for the work that's going on currently, some of it was completed in time to be integrated into version 2, but some of it not yet, and so this is a list of things that we do want to get completed soon, and most of the things that we have here actually are on the UI side. However, Jeff, at the back end, was there anything that we had to do additionally? I mean, I know Burak was working on some of the additional modules for processing during the ingestion process itself, like publication, etc.
Right, and so was there someone else? So we have the publications. The NLP is, the next one that we talked about already.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure if there's anything other than the publications and NLP that we want to add. I mean, it really depends on what UI requires, right? If there's anything else that we need to do to provide additional data.
Right. No, I just want to know if there's anything else that I need to add on to the list here so that we kind of keep track of it. And I also think, considering that we are entering into the last 6 months of the project, we probably need to get into some kind of detailed documentation that would help us to hand it over to whoever's taking it on next, or maybe we continue doing it, but we don't know anything yet. So it might be good for us to probably focus on making sure all the source code is updated in GitHub, and we also start working on tutorials, I think, as we go into the next 6 months. Again, please do deposit all your codes in GitHub and contact me if you need access. I know Elizabeth, you probably, Stephen would need access to GitHub. So maybe you could ask him, you could ask him to contact me so we can give him access to the GitHub repository.
So Anu, do we have a guide, if the code is in GitHub, do we have a guide as to how to build and deploy? I don't know whether it's a single build and deploy. I suspect it's more complicated than that, but how one builds and deploys the components of DataMed.
So they can just download source code. We don't need to build anything. Just put it under the Apache folder. I think that's all.
I mean, the point we have to have in mind, and we need to have a test at some point. You know, if what you're saying is that somebody else needs to be able to do this, I can just tell you from prior experience, until somebody actually tries to build and run the software, one doesn't know whether one has what one needs in the source code control system. So the first step is, I mean, it doesn't need to be complicated. You know, how would you build and deploy the software from source code?
Right. And so for the back end, we actually did that test with Ruling at itself. And so we've gone through that a couple times and have
very good,
and also PowerPoint that Ruling developed as part of that. So we have that information, and I think that what Ruling was saying,
when we deployed
the front end is a little easier in terms of deployment, since it's basically just PHP code, right?
Right, and then we need to set up the terminology server, the NLP server.
Right.
The data set. And last time when we deployed into the user production server, we wrote some documentation step by step, so we can share with that with the team. Yeah.
Maybe we can put that up in GitHub, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Is there anything else that we need to talk about? Yeah, we talked about it. All right. If not, then thank you very much. We finished a little early today.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, good luck with the launch.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.